What's up, guys? It's Q&A time on Monday, December 22nd. Um, Bear with me here on the audio. I'm trying to adjust some things on my microphone for podcasts, so I figured I'd use it tonight to see how it sounded. So hopefully it doesn't sound like shit. Excuse me if it does. So I am going to pull up the questions here on my phone and see what we have going on. This was another open Q&A, so topics were whatever this time. I'll probably go back to a topic episode next week. But for now, let's see what we have. All right. In your last blood work video, you answered a question and said, depends on how hard the person is pushing it in their blast. In your opinion, what would you say is the envelope of starting to push? Obviously not advice or recommendation, but in your eyes, where is too much about to happen? It's a hard question to answer because it's really comes down to personal preference at some point. I think everyone needs to draw a line of what they consider okay as far as their health, and then do what they can within that, within those parameters. That might mean may still be the same end result. It may just take a different amount of time to get get to that end result. So, it's like I said, it's just going to vary person to person. Some people just don't care, or they turn a blind eye, or they just don't know. But if you're looking at blood work strictly, what I would say to most people is your blood work should look good more than it looks bad. And I've talked about this before. It's a situation where they do a run of something and the blood work isn't very good during, whether that's 12 weeks, 16 weeks, whatever it is. And then they get blood work 6 weeks after, or, whatever amount of time. Their blood work is starting to normalize. Maybe by 8 weeks after, it's normal, or 6 weeks after, it's pretty much normal. So they think, okay, I'm good to go. See, this is where the problem lies, is that, yeah, your blood work was probably good for, a week, maybe two, and then you're back to bad again. So in reality, you have, a few stints during the year where it's good, and we're talking about just weeks at a time. So again, that's just kind of my opinion. It should be good more than it should be bad. Now, good just kind of depends on, again, it depends on personal preference. I mean, there's ranges on there for a reason. I mean, the ranges are, while some of it can be altered depending on the person, and we know training does certain things, and inflammation and what have you, but I mean, there are ranges for a reason. They are relatively accurate, outside of some other, little things that we might move around a little bit here and there for depending on the bodybuilder and their size. But stay within, try to be within those ranges most of the time. That's more than you're not. Yeah, in a short term, if something's off, it's not the end of the world. It's not like it's not like if your liver enzymes, or if your HDL, or if your, whatever marker it is off in short run. It's just the fact that if it stays that way, then obviously that's not good. So that's kind of my take on it. And then how that happens person to person as far as what they do, it totally varies. I mean, some people just don't get that many side effects. They metabolize things differently than other people. They have a high tolerance, but sometimes that's just on blood work. So, there's other things to look at besides blood work too. We need to check our blood pressure, we need to check our blood sugar, you know, things that, other things that people might want to get done. I mentioned in one blood work video about some other additional markers that people don't really check very often. Maybe go back and look at that. Just paying attention to other symptoms and things that you have and how you feel. And that's sometimes an indication of other things, regardless of what your blood work says. So I hope that makes sense. Like I said, it is just a personal preference thing, but my goal is with everyone that wants to be their best and push themselves in that way is try to be good more than you're bad. And that's kind of a, that's kind of a blanket statement, but that's how I see it. So, okay, let's see. Probably hear my dog snoring in the background. There was a Christmas decoration going off a minute ago. There's still Christmas shit up all over our house. Okay. Next question is about cardio. Just watched a video saying cardio is a waste of time. I won't name the person that said this. It's not really relevant. Not any cardiovascular benefit, but is it really useless? He mentioned it lowered growth hormone and something else, I think. Okay, so on the growth hormone part of it, I have seen in some studies, at least one that I can remember. I say some, I don't know, there might be more than one, but as an adaptation, I guess is what you would call it, to chronic cardio and chronic exercise. It cited aerobic exercise specifically. There was lowered growth hormone, but to me, when I see something like that, I think of an adaptation. I think of a hormonal adaptation that would occur pretty much across the board when things are being done chronically. So contest prep, a lot of cardio, a lot of training, hormones go down. We know this. We know, especially if someone's a natural, not an enhanced competitor, and we've seen this in case studies. We know that it happens. There's a downregulation in hormones pretty much across the board, except certain hormones like stress hormones. Obviously the cortisol might go up, but other hormones, like your sex hormones, for example, and growth hormone may go down. So that's what I can say about that much, about that part of it. But as far as it being useless, I don't know that. I mean, it's definitely not useless, just in the simple fact that it burns calories, and if you need to use it to create a calorie deficit or control a calorie surplus, then that's fine. I mean, it's gonna do that depending on how you have it set up. As far as cardiovascular benefit goes, it's debatable. I mean, raising your heart rate is said to be useful component of it, helping stronger heart. I don't know that that's completely true. I see conflicting literature on that, actually. What I can say though is, I don't know how I want to say this. I would say that potentially HIIT cardio or higher intensity is a little bit better, but that's more so anaerobic and not as aerobic. So I don't know if you would consider that really. It's not really the same thing. So as far as it being beneficial, yeah, I just mentioned there are benefits. Cardiovascular wise, I don't know for sure, to be honest. It's just too much conflicting information. Everyone says, yeah, it's great for your heart. I don't, it does make your heart stronger. It makes your heart larger. Exercise makes your heart larger. Building muscle, it is a muscle, it grows. So to an extent, probably, I'm not, but I'm not 100% certain to say either way. Interesting question, though. All right. Obviously less than ideal, but if work and life get in the way and you only made it to the gym once or twice total, is that a waste of time? Can any progress be made? Clearly, I think 3 is the bare minimum, but theoretically. Okay. Sorry, I lost my gum. No, I mean, it's not a waste of time. It depends on what you're looking for progress wise. If you are looking to gain a bunch of muscle, probably not. And the reason being is just volume's not sufficient. unless these workouts are like crazy long, which even then I would think that recovery wise, it's just not going to be it's not going to be plausible. So I would say maintenance, maybe. You can obviously use low volume, higher intensity type of training, but again, 2 days a week is really low. You can maybe maintain tissue on that. You're supplying blood, nutrients to tissue, be able to break it down twice a week. You do like full body workout twice a week or whatever you're doing. That would be, I would say that would be possible. Uh, but outside of that, I wouldn't expect to make any big progress. No, I wouldn't say it's a waste of time at all. I mean, you're still, it's better than doing nothing, and you're gonna lose tissue then for sure. But yeah, I mean, you're just not gonna get enough stimulus, even if you train as intensely as you possibly could. Um, you're still just missing that volume component so largely that you're probably gonna miss out on a lot of growth. Okay. Okay. Thoughts on backloading all of your carbohydrates post-workout with the rest of your meals being protein, veggie, fat. Also, what carbohydrate sources would you use in this meal? So yeah, if you're talking about carb backloading, I don't see anything wrong with it. You can do it. It works great for some people. Works great appetize-wise for some people. It works great just for mentally. They like it like that. There is maybe some potential in insulin sensitivity, just benefit to that. I mean, it's still at the end of the day, it's still nutrient timing in a way. You know, you're still timing carbs post workout. It's just that it's a humongous uh, serving, obviously depending on what your intake is. But it's I would say the one thing, couple things I've learned from doing it and from having other people do it is if you're doing strictly carb backloading and you have a huge feeding post workout, it may help you sleep and it may not. So I've seen some people it actually impacts their sleep negatively, and there are some interactions with melatonin at that point, and there are some uh, obviously digestive issues. You have such a large bolus of food in your stomach, basically that you're going to have to digest that while you're sleeping, um, while there's other what's the word I'm looking for? Um, there's other systems at play. I mean, there's other recovery processes at play. There's other things that require that blood and that energy from your body. So in that case, maybe not, but it would be something that you would want to test out. And again, it kind of depends on how big of a bolus we talking about. Someone that's eating 500 carbs, if they have, uh, 50 grams of vegetables, of carbs from vegetables during the day, or 60 grams or whatever, and they have, 440 grams of starchy carbohydrates backloaded. Well, yeah, I mean, might be, it might not work out very well for them for the reasons I mentioned. But you can obviously, for the people that I would have do something like this, I'd probably start the carbs intra workout. If they're working out in the evening, go intra workout, pretty big carb load, something that's fast gastric emptying, that's going to get in and get out, and then, load the rest in the back loading. That's not to say that you can't train in the morning and backload in the evening. You can. You backload. Um, it can be it can be a decent method to have the glycogen there for the next morning. Basically, potential some fat burning during the day, maybe depending on what your actual calorie intake is. But but again, I mean, a couple things to consider there, and see how you feel during the day too. If you feel better with those protein and fat based meals, as some people do, just roll with that. I mean, some people feel clear, their head's clear, they feel better just because blood sugar's not going up and down, insulin levels aren't going up and down, and they just they function better, cognitive functions better, and they feel better. So that's obviously a positive benefit and a reason to backload, that it could potentially be useful. So that's something to think about. All right, last question is a fun one. Hmm. Please give us your best Midlands accent in preparation for your appearance in God's country. So, if you guys didn't see, I posted up, we'll be doing a seminar in the UK, and gosh, I forget what the name of the damn place is. That's bad. I should know. Midlands area, around London-ish. Um, so, an accent in preparation for my journey. Okay, so honestly, I look, I looked up some accents. I can't. I tried. I can't do it. It sounds ridiculous. I sound more like Australian than I do English. So, yeah, I pretty much failed there. However, I did see some cool slang, so I kind of want to brush up on my slang so I know some of that before I go. Um, some of the slang is hilarious. Uh, there was there was one about, what was she saying? One about wanting to hit someone, says they're going to lamp them, and she literally means a lamp. Take the lamp, throw the lamp, hit the person with the lamp. I thought that was hysterical. Random. Uh, suppose you could use that for anything. If whatever's in the room, I'm gonna what blank you with it. So there was definitely some funny slang. So I'm gonna have to kind of brush up on that. And I've already got taught a few things. The other day, I got called a geezer or geeza if you put an A at the end, which basically means mate or um, bro. I guess kind of sounds like it means bro in the UK, whereas here it means someone old, maybe old and cranky. So definitely not the same. So I'm gonna have to learn. So in case somebody calls me a geezer, I'm not alarmed. But it's partially true. I'm kind of a geezer, so it's all good. All right, guys, that is all I have for today, and I will see you guys next week.